Okay, start. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मद् आचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेतः यश्रेयस्यान् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं साधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम् ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाची प्रतिष्ठितम् आविर्म एधि वेदस्य मानिष्ठः श्रुतुं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारम् अवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देव भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्रः स्थिरैरङ्गे स्तुष्टुवाग्वं सस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धक्षवाः स्वस्ति न पुष्यो विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति न ताक्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमि स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव प्रतिष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्व पवित्रो वाजनीव स्वमित्रम् अस्मि द्रविङ्गं सर्वचसं सुमेध अमृतो स्थितः इति त्रिशङ्कुर्वेदनुवाचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Thank you, Smita. The last three shlokas, I think you need a bit more practice, Smita.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I know those are my weak points, and I've always been struggling with those. And I think when it comes back to it, I always struggle again, even if I practice. So, yeah, I need to do more.
All right, so we finished shloka 1 last time, so we'll start with shloka 2. Nana, do you want to read with us?
Give me a second.
Or maybe for now, maybe Prem, if you're ready, would you like to read with us?
Sure. Shloka 2, right?
Shloka 2, but start with connection after shloka 1.
Start with connection. So connection is continuing to the Lord elaborates 11 more divine properties.
So now you read the shloka with me. I will chant and then you chant after me. Okay.
Okay.
Ahimsa satyam akrodha
Ahimsa satyam akrodah
tyagah shantir paishunam
yaga shantira pisharam
paishunam
peshunam
daya bhuteshvalo luptvam
Daya Bhuteshvalot Putyam
Luptvam.
Luptvam
Very nice. Madhavam Chapalam.
Mardavam Hirachapalam.
Very nice. Yes, sir.
Non-injury, truthfulness, absence of anger, renunciation, peacefulness, absence of vilification, compassion for all beings, non-covetousness, gentleness, modesty, freedom from restlessness. More divine properties. Number 10, non-injury, absence of deliberate intention to cause hurt by word, deeds, or thoughts lead to maturity in the sense of non-injury.
So, ahimsa. We've heard a lot about ahimsa, right? Especially growing up in India with the whole non-violence movement. So we understand ahimsa to that extent because I think all of us have heard of how India won the freedom through the non-violent actions of Mahatma Gandhi and the peaceful movement, etc. Right? So, but the way we've as kids we've understood non-injury to be hurt through actions, right? So if you are not hurting somebody through actions, you feel as if like you are non-violent in nature. Thappad nahi mara, or like you've not hit somebody, right? We take this one step higher by saying that even hurtful words, and I think all of us have even heard of this a lot of times, right? That hurtful words have a lasting impact. And we've heard of sayings which talk about how every time you say a bad word or you say something hurtful, it breaks the mirror, right? And then even if you put it back, you patch it back together, you always have the you can always see that it's broken. It's just never the same again, right? And lots of sayings around it. But Gita basically says, as with everything else, right? Action comes the last. The first thing that happens is the thought, and we have to catch it at the level of thought, because we do a lot of violence in our heads, a lot of violence, even if we don't speak it out, right? And there are times when we are able to speak it out, and it's very easy for us to actually, not just easy, but we actually do this a lot to people who are weaker than us. It's very easy for us to inflict injury on people who are weaker than us or people who are dependent on us. Okay. Think of our helpers, people who report to us, our subordinates at office, or people who serve us, the guards at the buildings, or the drivers, or the attendants in various places who will attend to us, waiters, helpers at home, children, right? Children are vulnerable in our care, even our spouses, family members, right? So people who are weaker than us, people who are dependent on us, people who are vulnerable, injuring them through words, thoughts, or actions is the worst kind of sin we can do. Worst kind of sin. Especially children and weaker sections of society who are dependent on us, right? Like for me, for example, my helper, she's at home, she's fully dependent on me. मैं उसके ऊपर चिल्ला भी दूंगी, तो there is no way for her to respond back. Even if she wants to, she knows she's dependent on me, so she's going to likely keep quiet, say one or two words, but she's not going to escalate it with me unless she wants to lose a job. And that's the case with most attendants. That's the case with a lot of colleagues who are working with us and are directly reporting to us, right? And we know ourselves that we would not shout at our bosses for most part unless I'm ready to walk out of the door, right? So Shalini Didi clearly always says that if you're going to get angry or you're going to get violent in any form, I mean, forget about physical violence. I think most of us have probably not done physical violence. Most of us, okay? In any gross form, okay? Most of us have not done any gross form of violence, physical violence. Maybe some form of physical violence where we have hit our children, do thappad laga diye because he was not listening to me. We have to spare the rod, spare the child. We've heard that often, right? So we've probably done that. And so we generally consider ourselves to be very peaceful people. But the amount of violence that actually resides inside of us, think about the number of times you said hurtful things when we get angry. We all do. And when we are angry, we say a lot of hurtful things with only the intention of hurting, which we regret later on. We don't mean them, right? When we fight with our siblings, when we fight with our spouses, we say a lot of hurtful things. That is very strong form of violence. And then there are cases when we are upset with people in our office, but we can't say it. So we say stuff in our head. A lot of stuff we will never say to our friends or to other people in our community, wherever we may be interacting with them, or to our parents or to our spouses a lot of times, right? When we have better control over ourselves. But we do that violence in our head. All of that is a form of strong violence, just strongly condemned, right? Non-violence essentially means that we have to control it all at the level of thought. Now, how do you do that, right? We are constantly getting provoked by other people, constantly. Why do we get provoked? Where does this sense of injury come from? We get provoked because we constantly have a we live we don't live in reality. We live within a bubble of ourselves, a bubble of self-image, a bubble of who I am. I'm this kind of a daughter. I'm this kind of an employee. I'm this kind of a mother. I'm this kind of a sister, right? We have an idea of what kind of a person I am. I have that self-image. And then I have ideas about what this kind of a person with this self-image deserves, right? Very kind person. I'm a very caring mother. I make sure that my kid always gets his homework done. I always make sure that my house is very clean, very neat, very orderly. I'm a very organized person. I'm a very hardworking person, right? These are all self images. I am a Googler, right? Or I'm an AI scientist. These are all aspects of self image that we create. I'm a very good cook, right? I'm a very good hostess. These are all aspects of our self-image that we create. And with that self-image, then we have sense of how other people should treat us. We have sense of entitlements. We have a sense of I deserve this. And that I deserve becomes not just I deserve, becomes a sense of entitlement. If people don't give that to me or don't treat me exactly the way I expect them to treat, which happens all the time because first of all, people don't subscribe to your idea of your self-image. And then they do not know what your idea of your self-image deserves, right? You might have an idea of a hardworking person and I will have an idea of hardworking person, but both of us, while with the same image, will have a different sense of how people should treat us, right? So which means I don't know how you expect to be treated. So I'm going to make mistakes. You will make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And this strong sense of attachment to our self-image and a strong sense of entitlement creates a um, very difficult to please person. And it creates a person with extremely, what is the right word to use? An extremely touchy person. Very easy to lose their cool. Very easy to take offense. Very easy to get upset. Very easy to take umbrage. कोई कहीं पे कुछ और कर रहा होगा, we will get upset with them, even when it has got nothing to do with me. Because I think I'm a very compassionate person. So now I'm going to get very upset with a war that's going on thousands of miles away from me and is not directly affecting me in any way. And I'm going to get upset about it. And then I'm going to remain upset about it for days together with zero ability to influence or zero ability to do anything about it. I will not do anything about it. I will actually do, for example, Russia-Ukraine war, right? I'm going to get upset about it for days on end. I will read news about it and then I will feel very upset and angry about it and do nothing about it. ऐसा नहीं है कि I get upset about it and then I actually go and do something productive about it. Right? I'm not doing anything productive. I'm just sitting here, getting all upset, and then maybe, acting like this couch potato who's just like putting their, views of their geopolitical views around the world. right? So that's completely useless thing. And then what happens is, because I'm upset about this one thing, I'm going to get upset about every other thing, because now I'm in an upset mood. I'm an upset person. Then jo bhi mere samne aayega, I will be upset with them for something or the other, because nothing is perfect. So I'll always find a reason to be upset. So a person who is complaining will find a reason to complain about everybody and every situation. It's easy to find things to complain about because nothing is perfect. Even if Kavita comes and like helps me out and does, I ask her, Kavita, do these 10 things for me, okay? And I'm very sure she'll never do those 10 things in exactly the same fashion that I expect her to do, in exactly the same level of competence, with exactly the same order, okay? कहीं ना कहीं कोई त्रुटि रह जाएगी, right? हम पूजा भी करते हैं, उसमें भी there is some or the other mistake. So we always have Kshama Prarthana at the end of it all to seek forgiveness. So she will make some mistake and I will latch on to it because I'm a complaining person. I have dosh drishti. So I will find something to complain about, no matter what she does. I'll always find something to complain about. And that small little thing I will cavil about and then gossip about, or get upset about, or get angry about, or retaliate against. I will not see, जब हम में दोष दृष्टि होती है, तो हम लोग, we don't see the 9 things that have gone well. We will see that one thing that has not gone well. Always. That's our animalistic behavior of survival instinct. Right? So we are always on the lookout for danger. So, and that survival of fittest ensures that we at the base level, our basal instincts are to look out for danger. Our basal instincts are to look out for stuff that does not sit well with us. That's why it is very easy to register that one bad word somebody has said versus the 100 good words somebody has said. Immediately, those 100 good things Kavita has done for me will be lost. But that one bad thing she has done will stay with me forever. Because we have not got a control over our basal instincts. When we get control over our basal instincts, then we choose what to retain and what not to retain. We choose, we have learned through sadhana where to focus our mind on. So if somebody has 10 characteristics, I will choose the 2 I like the best and I will choose to focus on that. That's how saints behave. Because they have control over their basal instincts. They have control over their mind, complete control over their mind. So they can choose, I will focus on this and this and this. I will not choose to focus on the other things. Today, we have no control over where our mind focuses. So our mind focuses by habit. And habit means go look out for danger. Go look out for anything that punctures my sense of self. And that's all I see around the world. Now imagine the life of that person who constantly is only looking for danger, is looking for things that have upset them, is constantly in a space of like fight or flight mode, right? Because the moment we are behaving like that, and we are not in a space of gratefulness, this person is constantly evoking and constantly, his body is in every way secreting stress hormones, which is constantly generating a fight or flight mode. This person can never ever be healthy. Long-term stress of this kind, long-term constant state of anxiety, long-term constant state of being in a fight or flight mode, which most of us are, will take its toll. At some point of time, 40, 50, 60, 70, it will turn up in the form of physical diseases because our body starts to give way, our organs start to give way. This is real scientific stuff, right? And it all comes from that space of not being able to focus on the right things. And we are not in a space of gratefulness. We are not looking for space of like, how do I say thank you to this one person? I'm always looking for what has this person not done for me? What has this person done wrong? Even if he has done everything that I asked of him, did he do it in exactly the same fashion that I wanted him to do, as if it was me doing it? We don't give leeway, right? And this is actually madness, like real madness. Perfection in the space of Ajo beta. Come. Ajo, yeah, Ajo. No problem. Seeking. So we are constantly looking for, sorry, what was I saying? when we are in a space of when I'm sorry, I think there's something stuck. Wait. Okay. Sorry, we started from non-injury, right? Yeah. So as you will see that everything, all of these divine qualities, no, and their demonical qualities, the opposites of them that you'll read about, they're all connected. You take any one of them, and they will lead you to others. I mean, you take up any one of them, and I say take up any one of them, not in terms of कि हम लोग खाली intellectually सोच रहे हैं. You take any one of them and try and implement it in your life. Like Gandhi ji, we remember him so much for non-violence. Ahimsa was not what he was after. Ahimsa was a byproduct. Byproduct of what? His search for truth. Right? He wanted to know what is real truth. That was his quest of life. And in that quest, non-violence became an extremely important practice point for him, because he understood that without violence, I will never be able to find the truth. So many other things that we read here, they all came about only because he picked up one practice point for him, which was truth. What is real truth out there? So going back to non-injury, the important thing to understand, what I think I would say, okay, if I have to forget about everything else, but if there was one takeaway for us for this would be कि कोई आपसे पावरफुल है, कोई आपसे ज्यादा स्ट्रांग है, ठीक है, आप उन पे जितना चिल्लाना चिल्ला लो, जितना उनके साथ आपको वायलेंस करनी है ना कर लो. लेकिन इफ देयर इज समबडी हु इज वल्नरेबल, समबडी हु इज वीकर देन यू, उसके साथ वायलेंस इज अ वेरी, इट्स अ महापाप. महापाप, बहुत बड़ा पाप. छोटे बच्चे जब होते हैं ना, 2-3 साल के छोटे बच्चे, एंड हम उनको थप्पड़ लगा देते हैं, that is nothing but our own frustrations, our own inability to deal with life, and that comes out on a small child. बच्चे को हम ऐसे physically, and then we justify it with hundreds of reasons. It is unjustifiable to hit a child. It is unjustifiable to express violence to your colleagues, to your direct reportees, to the people who are attendants and are servicing us in wherever, whether they are, from weaker sections of society, they are doing their job and we shout at them. How many times we've seen people shout at guards because they are doing their duty and asking for 10 things that the management has asked them to before they let your car in, right? There have been escalations. We've read about it even in a apparently orderly place like Singapore, right? And there've been enough escalations even here. So uh, these type of behaviors are absolutely uncalled for, and I'm pretty sure all of us have done this in some form or the other. With, if nobody else, then there are helpers who come to our house for help, and we would have shouted at them at some point or the other. Definitely with our reportees at some point or the other, saying कि यार काम नहीं करते ये लोग, ठीक है. So ये बिल्कुल छोड़ देना है. At the level of thought, find a better way to communicate. Not saying that you don't communicate here. Okay, at no point of time am I saying don't communicate, don't tell, let the child have a free reign, let them do whatever they want. Or the colleague at office is churning up bad work after bad work and we let them go. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is issue violence in thoughts, words, and actions. What do you do then? You have to find a better way to communicate so that it is effective. Know that everything that you've been doing thus far is not effective, then find the next one. And then you'll see, oh, even that did not have an effect. Fine. Thomas Alva Edison found 1,000 ways to not make a bulb before he found a way to make a bulb. So find a better way to communicate with people around you. If one way doesn't work, then don't go back and repeat it, because that's the work of madness, right? We are being, mad people if we can't take our own feedback and then not improve upon our action. That way did not work. So then, okay, can I tweak this? Can I tweak this? If you keep at it and you keep on finding the right way to communicate, ultimately, ये सारी दुनिया भगवान ने किसमें बनाई है? He made it by the dint of his word. The world was created in word. We create our worlds in our words. The words that we tell ourselves about ourselves, and the words we tell about others around us, the words that we tell about the circumstances we find ourselves in, the words we tell ourselves about the events that happen around us. We label them, we categorize them. And then that categorization and the words we use create the emotions that we feel towards that VVGP. And that creates our worldview, and that creates our world constantly. So we are constantly creating world around us through the words. So choose your words carefully. इसको कहते हैं वाणी का तप. And when we have that Vani ka tap, when we have control over our, now with an injury, with non-injury, obviously akrodh, क्योंकि आधे से ज़्यादा violence happens when we are in a space of anger, right? So that gets linked to it. Let's read all of them actually, because I think we'll go back and forth quite a bit. Then we'll come back and take it each one.
Number 11, truthfulness. Stating a fact with sweet words and for the welfare of the listener constitutes truthfulness. Number 12, absence of anger. The absence of agitation caused by insult, vilification, or an unwelcome happening leads to absence of anger. Number 13, renunciation. Absence of expectation of happiness from objects of the world lead to renunciation. Number 14, peacefulness. Freedom from mental agitations and worries lead to peacefulness. Number 15, absence of vilification. Non-indulging in fault-finding or not mentioning anybody's faults to another constitutes absence of vilification. Number 16, compassion. Sympathy for those who are suffering and the effort to cause happiness to them constitute compassion. Number 17, non-covetousness. To be attracted towards any object of the senses, thinking it to be the source of happiness, leads to covetousness. The absence of this attraction leads to non-covetousness. Number 18, gentleness. Abrasiveness of thought, speech, and behavior leads to harshness.
Actually,
Substitute
18, 19, 20 we'll do later. Okay, let's go through 17 till 17, right? Now, all of these, you will see, right, are related, right? So absence of anger, akrodh, okay? Akrodh, so we get angry because of the VVGP. Again, as I've explained that, right? Why do we get angry? Because of our self-image, because of our entitlements, because of our expectations, because of the desires that don't get fulfilled. So that leads to anger. Absence of that kind of an agitation, right? Anger does a lot of agitation in the mind, right? फिर वो our mind starts to go mad. I have to say this, I have to say this. मैं बोल दिया, नहीं बोला तो फिर दिमाग में चलता रहेगा. Right? And how much violence we do because of that in our mind. So for us to be able to practice non-injury, absence of anger is very, very, very important. Okay. And if there is, then we were talking about, okay, so then if I'm not allowed to be angry, and I'm not allowed to be, and I think like all of these are not the right way to behave, violence of words and all is not the right way to behave, then how do I talk, right? And that's where truthfulness comes into play. So now we're not saying that you don't tell what is the right thing to your child or to your helper or to your colleagues or to your spouse, right? You still do, but you speak the truth. Truth basically means that the first thing that you have to ask yourself is what you want from the other person, which is not happening, which is leading to anger and which is leading to violence in your thoughts, words, and actions. What is that desire even correct? Or is that expectation even correct? Is it based on principles, or is it because you want something from them? Most of the time, it is not based on principles. We just want control over the other person, or we want something from them which I'm not getting, which causes this way of behavior, right? So that is first level of truthfulness is with yourself, and half the time you would realize that it is something that you need to let go rather than expect the other person to comply, right? Then the second level is where you think, okay, no, this is the right expectation to have in this kind of a thing. I expect this person to, like, turn in this level of PPT by this time. That's the expectation, blah, blah, blah. Now, in that case, then you have to become truthful about how are you supporting that person, and does that person have everything, and how are you going to tell them, right? Even if you have to deliver the bad news to them, you say, okay, this person has not done a good job and I have to give feedback to them, right? How do you deliver that feedback? That feedback must be done in a truthful fashion, and truthful but compassionate fashion. How do you determine what is truth? We had said before you even speak the truth, it must pass through 5 gates. The first gate is it actually based on facts or is it an opinion? So is it really true or is it just your opinion of how you're seeing the world? And even after you have determined that it is the truth, right? Why are you telling it to them? Are you telling this to them for their own welfare? Or are you doing that to get some brownie points, or you're trying to do something for yourself? Right? So if you say no, this is really for their welfare, so then okay, you go through the second gate. Then the third gate is, are you saying this at the right time? Is it the right time to tell this truth? Maybe it is not. Maybe you wait it out and find the right time to say that thing, right? You don't have to say it the moment it comes into your head. Sometimes it's better for you to keep quiet, let the current situation simmer down, and find a better time to give your message when they are more receptive to your message, right? So is it the right time? And if you say, okay, this is the right time, then are you saying it correctly? Are you saying it in such a fashion that it does not create agitation in the other person's mind? If you have created agitation in the other person's mind, you've not done your job. In the name of duty, the number of times we inflict injury on others is ridiculously high. Right? We hide behind truthfulness, hide behind duty, and hide behind, I have to tell the truth. I am like this only. I don't couch my words. I'm very straightforward. Right? We've said this to ourselves a lot of times, like, yeah, I have to say this, it's for their own good, and I have to say it. I will not sweeten the words. I'm not diplomatic like you. I will tell you exactly what they are. We've all said all of this, right? These are all uh, these are all excuses where you've not gone by the scriptural assent of how you're supposed to deliver a message. You have to deliver a message that is truth, has to be delivered at the right time, in the right fashion, and has to be done only for the welfare of the other person. When you deliver a message in that fashion, it will always be extremely impactful. And the message will be received. Maybe it is not received with the 100% import that you wanted it to be. But over a period of time, the message will indeed be received. Okay. So truthfulness, but said how? In one of the things is compassion. You have to say it with compassion. You have to have compassion for the other person. If you are seething with anger, there is no way there would be compassionate words that would come out of your mouth that you're doing for their welfare. When we are angry, we'll say a lot of things, couching behind duty and behind truthfulness, but we are only doing this to hurt them. And जो ड्यूटी हमने इस तरह से कर दी, whichever duty we do by hurting the other person. Okay, I had read this somewhere which had a massive impact on me because I have done that a lot myself. Where if we have done a duty, but in the process, हमने सामने वाले के heart को बिल्कुल छिन्न भिन्न कर दिया. We have hurt the other person so badly, right, that we've alienated them from us. Right? Even if it is for 10 minutes or whatever. But if you've hurt the other person in the process of, in the garb of doing our duty, then that duty is not done. Consider that duty not done. अगर आपने बच्चे को रुला धुला के, दुखी करके, बिल्कुल ही मतलब दूसरे के साथ लड़ाई झगड़ा करके अगर आपने उसका होमवर्क करा दिया, then don't pat yourself on the back saying, what an amazing parent I am. I got their homework done in time for school. You might as well have been better off not getting that homework done, because the amount of negative karma you've accrued for yourself in the process and the amount of trauma you inflicted on that child is something you cannot even begin to fathom. So this for me personally, I realized how many times I like say things in a very hurtful fashion to everybody around me, right? It's Abhinav, whether it's my kid, whether it's my helper, like in a very, I mean, you don't even have to raise your voice, okay? Don't go to the level of extremes, right? You will see कि आप कितना झुंझुला के बोल दोगे, irritate होके बोल दोगे, angry तरीके से बोल दोगे. You will use words that are harsher. You know inside of yourself कि आपने किस तरह से बोला है. Was it sweet? Right? When I started to meditate on it, I realized that there is no way anybody would ever think of me using sweet words. I'm anything but that. The amount of harshness that's there in my words, और आज भी है. I'm not a I'm not a sweet person, so that's my sadhana. Right? I'm very like, and I used to be very proud of it at one point of time. बहुत सही है, ऐसे ही होता है, ऐसे ही काम होता है. You have to be discipline के नाम पे, determination के नाम पे कुछ इतना बकवास. This is all like your bad behaviors and bad habits trying to perpetuate themselves. And what is that? Bad habits को हम लोग नहीं break कर रहे is nothing but tamas. We've read about it, right? Inertia. Inertia, the biggest tamas in all of us is inability to change. Inability to let go of bad habits is the biggest way in which tamas exists in us and constantly manifests itself. Bad type of tamas. One that is not being led by Satogun. Tamas, which is being led by tamas. So truthfulness, non-injury, absence of anger, renunciation. Renunciation is very, very important to understand properly. And it is one of the most ill-understood concepts and something that I have heard a lot of times from people where people are afraid. Gita nahi padhni hai kyunki renunciation. Hum renunciation thodi karna cha rahe hain. The first thought people have is of Gautam Buddha. He had renounced his family, he walked away, right? And Gita tells us that that is not our path. That's the path for a Sankhya yogi. Gautam Buddha was a Sankhya yogi, right? He eventually went that way. We are not that. We are all householders. So हमें संसार नहीं त्यागना है. हमें सांसारिकता त्यागनी. We have to renounce not the world. We have to renounce our attachments to this world. Attachments to the outcomes of our actions. That is what we need to renounce. And without vairagya, without renunciation, true wisdom can never come. Never come. True wisdom will never dawn us if there isn't enough renunciation, if there isn't vairagya. It's only in the presence of vairagya wisdom will ever dawn on us. It's a prerequisite for eventual gyan. ठीक है, वैराग्य. And इसमें भी एक बहुत interesting चीज है, right? How does true vairagya really come? For vairagya, now when you say renunciation, there is a type of renunciation where you will renounce or you will take your senses away from the objects of those senses, right? So tongue likes to eat food or tongue likes to speak a lot of gossip. It's constantly talking. So Vani ka tap is a type of renunciation of gossip or unworld or like worldly talks. I don't want to do something that I don't need to talk, right? Unnecessary talk. That is Vani ka tap. I will give up food. I'll give up something to eat. It can be I'll give up tea, coffee. I like tea, coffee. I like ice cream. I'm going to give up ice cream. I like sugar. I'm going to give up sugar. These are all forms of taking your senses away from the object. But अगर हम लोग अंदर ही अंदर, आज करवा चौथ है, right? So today is another of those days of fast. For those who keep other fasts, right? There is पूर्णमासी का फास्ट करते हैं लोग, एकादशी का फास्ट करते हैं, नवरात्रि का फास्ट करते हैं, right? Now फास्ट अगर हम लोग कर रहे हैं और पूरा दिन हम लोग बस खाने के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, and we can't stop thinking about the next feast we are going to have when this fast is going to get over, that is not renunciation. क्योंकि एवरीथिंग स्टार्ट्स एट द थॉट. तो अगर आप दिमाग में खा रहे हो तो आपके ऑब्जेक्ट, आपका जो सेंस है ना, इट इज कॉन्स्टेंटली इज इंडल्जिंग इन दैट फीस्ट. देन यू आर नॉट फास्टिंग, यू आर फीस्टिंग इन दैट मोमेंट. यू आर नॉट teaching your mind anything. The whole point of this is to teach your mind to remain calm, composed, to remain internally focused. वो तो हमने सिखाया नहीं. हम पूरे दिन सोच रहे हैं अपने उस खाने के बारे में. The fast that is going to come, the feast that's going to come after the fast. Right? Bye. Enjoy yourself. Um, so, um, so the point is that that is not the real renunciation. Real renunciation happens in the presence of tap that is done with happiness. Tap that is done, the tap that is done with complete, with every fiber of your being happy that you are taking on that tap. अगर आप किसी की सेवा कर रहे हैं, somebody is got hurt, आप उनको उनकी हेल्प कर रहे हैं, राइट? उनकी सेवा कर रहे हैं, बट उस सेवा करने में यू आर कॉन्स्टेंटली बिचिंग अबाउट इट एंड कॉन्स्टेंटली लाइक गेटिंग इरिटेटेड कि व्हाई डू आई हैव टू डू दिस, आई एम स्टक विद दिस थिंग, राइट? आपका तप हुआ ही नहीं. हर्ष पूर्वक अगर आप वो तप करें, तब आपका रिनंसिएशन शुरू होगा. तप से ही शुरू होगा रिनंसिएशन. पहले रिनंसिएशन नहीं होगा, पहले तप होगा, राइट? फास्ट करेंगे आप पहले. Eventually you'll get to a stage where you can, your senses are indulging in their object of senses, but with a complete sense of detachment. But it starts with tap, with the idea of renunciation, with the idea of vairagya. Eventually you will get to vairagya. Vairagya doesn't happen on day one because we are all superbly attached to everything. Okay. And there should be no abhiman of doing the tap either. जहां प्राइड आ जाती है ना, देखो हमने कर दिखाया, 9 दिन का फास्ट किया हमने, खत्म. देयर इज नो वैराग्य वेयर देयर इज प्राइड. बिकॉज प्राइड कहां से आएगी? इट विल कम फ्रॉम अ सेंस ऑफ डूअरशिप. इफ देयर इज सेंस ऑफ डूअरशिप, देयर इज ईगो. Can ego ever create? Ego can only do one thing. It can only create attachments. Ego does not create detachment. It does not create renunciation, right? So tap is an important element of getting to renunciation, and making sure that you do that tap with no sense of pride, because the tap is happening with the power of the Lord, with complete surrender. Tap must happen with complete surrender and with full happiness, with complete harsh. That kind of tap will eventually slowly mature us. It will bake our intellect to be able to get to renunciation. Okay. And all of these activities, then lead us to peacefulness. Because peacefulness is what? Peacefulness is nothing but a mind that is free from agitation. A mind that is free from agitation. Why do we get agitated? We get agitated because of our sense of doership, our expectations, our attachments, our desires, our sense of self, our sense of what other person should do or not do around me, which causes anger, annoyance, irritation. These are all ripples on the surface of this pond of our mind, right? The nature of the mind, which is probably very difficult for us to imagine to be true, is that the real मन, जिसको हम लोग रामचरितमानस से मनस लेक कहते हैं, right? It's a मन का lake, is supposed to be absolutely placid. calm, with zero ripples on it. And when you have that kind of a mind in such a placid, clean lake, which is completely pure, you can see all the way down to the bottom of that lake, which means that at every point of time, you can constantly be in touch with the Lord, with your gut, which is nothing but Lord's manifestation and his voice. And then you can ask questions and answers will reveal themselves clearly. But the moment desires, attachments, anger, the ensuing anger comes, all of that creates ripples in our on the surface of this, right? And those ripples those ripples are nothing but agitation. When we are free of those agitations is when we have peacefulness. Now, this is something we had read earlier, I think in chapter 4 or 5, where we had talked about how, we run after these desires. Okay. We have something, some goal, and we are feverishly running after them. The amount of stuff we do to run after those things is humongous, right? Whether it's an exam that we are preparing for, it's a promotion, it's a project, whatever it is, right? Feverishly going after it and all, right? Once we achieve that, right? Ghar kharidna hai, car kharidni, koi bhi goal le lo aap, material, mental, you are preparing for a conference, whatever. You will do that, and usme aap, there is so much of tap that goes into it. Subah उठ रहे हैं, रात में लेट सो रहे हैं, amount of effort, खाना नहीं खा रहे हैं, पानी छोड़ दिया, but काम करे जा रहे हैं, right? We all have gone through that level of tap, है ना? वो तप जब खत्म होता है, when we reach that goal, okay, I had the goal of reaching Mount Everest. In that moment, when you get your object of desire, when you achieve that goal that you have been working extremely hard for, that moment is a moment of extreme peace. That moment, it's not just, it's actually not peace. You first have that sense of extreme happiness. There is elation, extreme elation, happiness, and then you have that sense of peace, absolute sense of peace. And then we think, ये happiness, elation, और ये जो peace आया, ये peace or satisfaction is what I've been craving for. वो कहाँ से आया? We think it came because that's something that was outside that I achieved. And उसके बाद क्या होता है कि because now you identify your happiness and peace with that object, very quickly at some point of time, this happiness will fade away with that object within a few seconds, a few minutes, a few months. Either way, that happiness and that sense of satisfaction and peace is going to get replaced with another fever for another desire. And then we start that process all over again, because we have understood wrongly that my happiness and my peace was because of something I attained. Actually, it's the opposite of it. What happens in that moment of that you've acquired a particular desire, that desire that was eating you up is now extinguished. And when that desire extinguishes, there is no more agitation on that lake, on your manas lake, right? And that mind that is absolutely calm and quiet with no agitations is where the real happiness shines forth. The happiness that is inside of us, it shines forth. That extreme bliss shines forth, and we experience that as elation and happiness. And then that peace that comes, that peace is just nothing but absence of agitation, which is caused by desires. So it is the absence or removal of the desire that caused that happiness and that peace to happen. But it happens at the same time. So from a causal perspective, we wrongly understand that the cause of this happiness and peace was completion or fulfillment of the desire. It was actually instead removal of that desire. It's been fulfilled, it's removed. And so the agitation with it is removed. And that's why I'm experiencing this peace and happiness. If we understand it correctly, that means that for me to continue to experience that happiness and peace, I need to make sure that I stay away from desires. But we understand it wrongly, and so then we run after second desire, and then third desire, and fourth desire. And we all have gone through that journey, because I remember that all of us, including me when I started my journey, in the first 2, 3, 4 chapters when we go through, all of us have this question of goals nahi honge. First of all, desires equal to goals for us. है ना? Desires equal to goals. Goals नहीं होंगे तो हम आगे कैसे चलेंगे? We all have asked this question. All of us. goals नहीं होंगे, desires नहीं होंगी, how will I propel myself forward? I wouldn't know how to act without them. We've always thought that's how we live, right? And Gita goes against that very principle, saying that that way of living life is completely zero. And then we learned the new way of living life. So he's saying the divine properties that will, another divine property that will shine forth through us would be this peacefulness. So the more peace you experience on a day-to-day basis, the more spirituality is coming into your life. Spirituality is spirituality is nothing but manifestation of these qualities on our day-to-day life, these divine qualities. That is real spirituality, not the act of doing puja. Act of doing puja is just one tool. It is not spirituality. If you're doing that, if we are using that tool wrongly to increase our sense of ego and pride, so wo tool zero, right? Then there is no spirituality there. So that's peacefulness. Absence of vilification, apashunam. See, absence of vilification, the word that has been used in the shlok is apashunam, not being an animal, right? So when we are constantly gossiping about others, जो हम लोग दोष दृष्टि रखते हैं, fault finding, cavaliering, okay, when we are only thinking about other person's faults, क्या उसकी, all of us have हजार faults, so it's easy to find faults. We have one or two vibhutis. एक, दो, तीन विभूति दी है भगवान ने, which we are very good at. Everything else, we are not that good at. Okay, we are average at some things, we are horribly bad at a lot of other things. है ना? So if I have to go and find any one of you, no, I'll say, अच्छा प्रेम में क्या faults है? I'll find 10 faults in it. स्मिता में क्या faults है? I'll find 20 faults in it. को काकुली में कितने 30 faults in it. कविता में 40 faults I'll find, right? अपने में कोई fault नहीं दिखती है ना, हम तो बिल्कुल ही हम, because our self image is not rooted in reality, right? अपने में सब कोई fault नहीं है, सब लोगों की faults हैं. So it's easy to find faults in others and very difficult to find the vibhutis in others, because all of us have been gifted with was 1, 2, 3, 4, maximum 5 vibhutis. है ना? So we need to have complete control of our senses and our mind to not fault find. When we don't have control over our mind, we will constantly see these other things. We will be acting like a pashu, like an animal. And then we are constantly looking for dangers. We are constantly looking for what is wrong with a person. We are constantly looking for what is wrong in a situation. That is a very animalistic behavior. A non-animalistic behavior is a person who has found control over his mind, finds what he can be grateful for in any situation. चाहे कुछ भी हो, हजार चीजें गलत हैं, बट इसमें ये दो चीजें मुझे अच्छी दिख रही हैं, आई विल बी ग्रेटफुल फॉर दीज टू थिंग्स. इस बंदे ने मेरे साथ बहुत कुछ गलत कह दिया, उसने मुझे बहुत चीजें बुरी बोल दी, but I will find those 1 or 2 things that I will find something to be grateful for him, or I will say good things about. Now here again, truthfulness goes with it. So हम लोग चिकनी चुपड़ी बातें नहीं बोलनी है. किसी का गलत गलत तरीके से उसको, जैसे हम लोग ना अननेसेसरीली हम उसकी बोले जा रहे हैं किसी के बारे में, ये तो ये है, ये तो ये है, ये तो, जो हम लोग गलत तरीके से लोगों की तारीफें करते हैं, झूठी तारीफ करने को नहीं कह रहे, बिकॉज ट्रूथफुलनेस अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डिवाइन क्वालिटी. झूठी तारीफ नहीं करनी. Find focus to find that one good thing you will find, and then sincerely say and appreciate that quality in that other person sincerely. So sincerity and truthfulness is very important. झूठी तारीफ नहीं करेंगे आप. बट इसमें अब क्या होगा, आपका माइंड बहुत फोकस होकर you will find the things to be grateful for. You will find things to focus on in other people that you can emulate. And when we focus, wherever our mind focuses, it becomes that. हम राम पे फोकस करेंगे तो राम बन जाएगा, रावण पे फोकस करेंगे तो हम रावण बन जाएंगे. So if all we do is like an earth with like a pashu, like an animal, if all we are doing is fault finding with our situation and the people around us, we will imbibe all those bad qualities. The more we talk about the bad things in our life, the more they will become strengthened. Wherever our thoughts go, the energies go. Wherever energies go, that thing gets strengthened. So when we are constantly griping about our life situation and we are constantly crying about what all is wrong with me, we inadvertently, without realizing, in an unconscious manner, strengthening those very things that we are griping about. But when we are constantly in a space of gratefulness for those 5 things in my life that are going right, in the space of 100 things that are going wrong, my entire house is burning down, but I have these 2 things that I'll find myself to be grateful for. And then what am I doing in that situation? I am choosing consciously to not give energy to the things where the things are burning down. I'm choosing to direct my energy towards the things that are going right in my life. And I'm choosing to strengthen them. And those things, when they get strengthened, they will flower more. They will manifest more and more and more. And when I appreciate something that is going on with other person's life, कोई किसी को प्रमोशन मिला, किसी को ज्यादा पैसे मिल गए, किसी को कार मिल गई, किसी को जो किसी की बहुत अच्छी रिलेशनशिप मिल गई, मुझे नहीं मिली, जब हम उनके लिए हमको दिल में envy नहीं है, if I have envy, then I am actually pushing those things away in my life without realizing. But when I'm happy for them, and when I look at it without a tinge of envy, when I'm happy for them, genuinely happy, then I'm flowing positive energy towards those things. Then I'm giving energy, positive energy to those things. They will manifest more in my life. They will become strengthened in my life, and they will come in my life eventually. When we when we are only focusing on good qualities of people around us, those qualities will become strengthened. Those people will manifest those qualities more and more when they are in touch with me. Right? So Bhagyashri has 20 qualities, and she represents these 20 qualities to 20 different people. I'll find that one quality in her, whichever quality, whether it is something I don't like or whether it's something I like. Whatever I focus on with Bhagyashri, she will manifest that quality more and more towards me. That's how I control my relationships. I don't care who Bhagyashri is with 20 other people, but with me, she will be exactly what I focus on in her. If I focus on her divinity, her divine persona will come out and interact with me. If I focus on her demonical properties, her demons will come out and interact with me. So the quality of my relationships is also dependent on me and not the other person. वो चाहे कैसा भी behave करे, over a period of time, I will change that person's behavior towards me, and I will transform my relationships by how I and what I focus on in the other person. So that's absence of vilification. It's very interesting. Apassionum is the word, right? And when we are saying that we should not vilify the other person, it's not just about the words, right? It's about my thoughts, how I think of the other person. When I think of the other person, if the first thing that comes to me are the things that irritate me about that person, trust me, however careful you think you are, it will come out in your words. It will come out in the tone of your voice. It will come out no matter how much you think you are being smart with your words. You're not. In any case, no more than 5 to 10% of communication happens through words. Everything else is the energy we feel. And energy is created through the thoughts. So be careful about how you think about other people and how you, like I said, words are very important. What words we use in our thoughts to characterize a person and what words we use to characterize a situation. Finding things to be grateful about, finding things to be happy about, finding things to be positive about, finding things to say good things about in a truthful fashion, not in a false fashion, will strengthen these positive things in our life, and our life will become more and more divine. This is the true meaning of being spiritual. Okay. Then the next one is compassion. Right? Compassion, pity and compassion are very different. You must have compassion, but you must not have pity. Don't pity people. Pity is a very negative emotion. Pity automatically assumes that the other person is incapable, is not strong, and you are completely not acknowledging the divinity inside of them. which is extraordinarily strong, which is God himself. So when you pity somebody, you are demeaning them. So please, never, ever pity somebody, but have compassion. When we have compassion, we can understand where they are coming from. Even if they are being upset and angry, you can understand they must be feeling so hurt for them to say something like this to you. That is compassion. And then try and understand, where are they hurting? What is going on in their mind, and what can you do to soothe that real hurt that they are experiencing? That's how you would deal with a person when they are being angry at you and saying a lot of negative things, but you're being compassionate. Okay, so then the words you will use will be very different. जब हम पिटी करते हैं ना, तो हम लोग अपने आप को बहुत बड़ा समझते हैं. Ego comes into play. Compassion necessarily means you will kill your ego, because now you're trying to step into someone else's shoes, which cannot happen with your own ego intact. You must dissolve your ego and enter into someone else's life and understand how they must be feeling. What have you done that caused them some kind of hurt in a way that you even didn't even know? Right? That is compassion. Compassion means you dissolve your ego. Pity, on the other hand, keeps your ego intact. हम बहुत बड़े हैं, हम बहुत स्मार्ट हैं, हम जो कर रहे हैं दूसरे के लिए कर रहे हैं आउट ऑफ पिटी. ईगो स्ट्रेंथन होती है पिटी. एंड दिस कंपैशन, सबसे बड़ा कंपैशन, हमारा कंपैशन कहाँ से आता है? द कंपैशन कम्स फ्रॉम कंपैशन ऑफ भगवान. कृपा, हम जो कहते हैं ना, कृपा भगवान की, दया भगवान की. Grace is the other word we use, right? Unki grace comes because of the compassion he has for us. The pujas that we do, the stutis we do in our scriptures, and I feel like I'm really just starting to explore and just starting to really understand that journey for myself. The more I dwell into these stutis, and I really try and understand what they're trying to say and what they mean for me in my daily life, I see कि मैं almost हर चीज की अवहेलना करती हूँ. Right? Almost everything in some form or the other, I'm not doing correctly. And then you see कि उसके बाद भी भगवान में कितना compassion है. उसके बाद हम जाके बोल देते क्षमा, सॉरी सॉरी सॉरी, ये नहीं हुआ, सॉरी ये नहीं हुआ, लास्ट में हर चीज में हम क्षमा मांग लेते हैं. And Bhagwan Ji, in his extreme compassion and love and daya, he's constantly giving us everything. See, that is the source of our compassion for someone else. कोई भी हमारे आसपास ऐसा नहीं है जो वो मिस्टेक्स नहीं कर रहा जो हमने मिस्टेक्स नहीं की. हम वही चीज, और सबसे ज्यादा बाइगॉटरी पता है कब होती है? द बिगेस्ट बाइगॉटरी यू विल एक्सपीरियंस इज दैट जब सामने वाला, व्हेन यू गेट एजिटेटेड विद समवन एल्स, नो, and you're complaining about someone else, do you know why that thing hurts you the most? That thing is hurting you because that thing is inside of you. That person is just being a mirror for you. We are exactly that, who we are fault finding for and shouting at. Ultimately, I am that person. Agar I did not have that person, then I would not have the hooks for that stimulant. What is the word? Stimulant? You know, if the other person is stimulating me with a certain behavior pattern, I would not get stimulated unless I had the hooks for it. Those hooks catch on to it. They latch on to it. If I didn't have hooks, wo aake chala jayega aise. You get what I'm saying? So Kakoli might do 20 things. I will get agitated with only those things that are inside of me. And I need to work on that. Kavita will get agitated with different things about Kakoli because she has those hooks inside of her. And there are other things that I'm getting agitated about. Kavita will be like, no, but it doesn't bother me at all. Yeah, I know she does this, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother her because that's not inside of her. Those issues are not inside of her. So it doesn't bother her. Like, yeah, she does that. Yeah, she says that, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't, like, yeah, I don't even think about it. Whereas for me, it will become a very big deal because those hooks are inside of me. So when I get upset about someone else and I am fault finding with someone else, the biggest bigotry is कि वही सब मेरे ही अंदर है, इसीलिए मैं चिल्ला रही हूँ. Varna, it would not have hurt me at all. It would not have touched me at all. I would have not even remembered it. It would not have registered with me at all. So when I go back and fix those things inside of me, either that thing will stop being in my presence, that VVGP that was causing that issue in me would completely disappear from my life, or it will still be there but will not bother me at all. I would not notice it. Just like if I'm sitting here and there's a lot of traffic right now going on here, I'm not registering that at all because it doesn't bother me anymore. Right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our things. We don't register everything. We only register a few things. And those are the things that are inside of us that we need to fix. And then non-covetousness, aloluptvam. Aloluptvam. Covetousness is nothing but lalach, greed. Right? So non-covetousness means not being greedy. And greed is a slippery slope to hell. It all starts from desires. You fulfill a desire, it causes greed. I want more. You don't fulfill a desire, it causes anger. Right? Now, then you would say, oh, desires. Every time I'm listening, it's desires is the issue. I need to kill these desires. Desires will never get killed. Desire is a very essential form of action. So you can never become desireless. You can only change the type of desire you have. So change the desire from desire for materialistic sansaric things to the desire to know the truth. Change it to the desire to achieve God. The change it to the desire of knowing yourself. These are all different ways of saying exactly the same thing. Desire to become the best version of yourself, which is nothing but Bhagwanji. So you will never become desireless. You have to transmute your desire to that of the higher order. Vairagya happens when you replace a certain desire with desire for happiness of higher order. Like a small child who is very attached to his toy cars, once he drives a real car, he develops a lot of vairagya for those for the toy cars. You bring toy cars, you give him 200 toy cars, he'll be like, yeah, whatever, happy to give it away. Thank you very much. He's not attached to them anymore because now he's experienced a completely different joy of driving a real car. So that's what we need to do. And with practice, Bhagwanji's grace happens and he will show us small glimpses of what that real bliss looks like, to teach us that, okay, keep going on this path. I will get you to a place where you will always be happy and always be full of bliss and always be full of peace. So non-covetousness. Okay, then we have gentleness, modesty, and freedom from restlessness. Wanted to kind of like do them differently because till the 17th one, right? These 17 divine qualities, they are prerequisite. After we have manifested these 17 qualities, they become a prerequisite for everything else that comes from here onwards. So the next 9 qualities, there are total 26 that we are talking about, right? After we have manifested these first 17 qualities, as a result of them, they become a prerequisite. Only then the next set of 9 will become manifested in us. You cannot get to the next 9 until we have manifested the first 17. They are the bedrock. Okay. So we'll stop here and we'll do a round of takeaways. And next class, we should be able to do the last 9, these remaining 3 and the next 6. Those are more like the results that will follow in our behavior. Okay. Who wants to go first?
I can start. So basically a lot of reiteration of what we have learned till now or gone through various sessions. Um, what I'm understanding is that these are very interlinked also. If, as you last said, that if my hooks don't catch on to something bad or some bad quality in the other person, then automatically my focus is on good qualities of that person. So my mind is not agitated about that person. My energy level and communication changes with that person. It brings in more divinity for myself. So it is all very interlinked actually. And with that kind of divinity or peace, maybe in a way your desires, and also you kind of start accepting life as it is, and you understand that it is his play and you surrender more. So this, the first thing is to stop, and that is I find my desires and all, I'm starting to like let go. But what you said, the moment something happens, you just, oh, this didn't go well, this person, you feel there's a subtle joy in talking about one that small negative thing in kavita, and all that thousand, but this, and then you just keep it at that. But if I can let go of that one thing every day I meet a person, I think that's just the start of manifesting the rest in my life. Yeah. So, you
Hina, you're in mute.
Sorry. Yeah. So what we need to remember is that nature does not like vacuum. So when we are trying to say, I don't want to talk negative about the other person, तो आपके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है? I don't want to talk negative. I don't want to talk negative. I don't want to talk negative. तो और ज्यादा फोकस जाएगा नेगेटिव चीजों पर ही. एंड देन से अरे मुझे ये तो सोचना नहीं था, अरे मुझे ये सोचना नहीं था, अरे मुझे नहीं, वो सोचना ही नहीं है. यू हैव टू थिंक अबाउट आपको क्या सोचना है. Instead of thinking about nots, thinking about what you must. So think about what do you need to do. So I want to only be grateful. So for me, you can say, oh, my goal is to find one good thing about the person I meet and just genuinely give them a compliment. Genuine compliment, not jhuta compliment. I will work hard to find something amazing, something that I liked, something they did, and I will just genuinely compliment that one thing. Every person I meet, I just want to give that compliment to that spark of divinity I see in them today. That will transform your relationships. And same thing for our life. Every day, find something to be grateful about. It's a very constant thing, right? A lot of people, and pretty much any book you would read, right, on how to transform your life, they will always say, do a gratefulness exercise. Before you go to sleep, think about the 3 things or 1 thing or whatever, like, X number of things that you're grateful for, and just give a gratefulness prayer. Morning, you wake up, give a gratefulness prayer. That transforms our energy. Gratefulness is love. While love is the highest vibration of energy, gratefulness is the next highest form, because gratefulness leads to love. You cannot reach the vibration of love without the vibration of gratefulness at all. Thank you.
I'll go next. Yeah, so we are talking about seeing the qualities in others, right? I've been experiencing it recently that since I've been working on myself for last so many years, whatever, I am seeing some good qualities in like some people around me, and I'm realizing them only just now because I have maybe gotten those qualities just now, but they have always had it, which I never saw until then. Until now, I've never seen it, never realized, but they always had it. But I am seeing it only now because until now I didn't have it, so I didn't see it in them. Now I have it, and so now I can see in them. So that there, I mean, there is a difference. I can see that. So and there must be so many other things I'm wondering. So yeah. So each and every point which you talked, you're right. There's a takeaway in everything. But one thing when you said that when one desire gets fulfilled, the another one comes, right? So I just like a few weeks ago, like there was a problem which I was working on. There was something I wanted for last like 3-4 years, not a material thing, but something I wanted to do. One day in afternoon at 2 p.m. it happened. I was happy all day. And then around 8 p.m., I was like, oh, what should I do next now? And then after that, I was like, oh, just stay with it. Just stay happy with it. But it's like my brain. So our brain is, I think, constantly looking for a problem to solve. I mean, 4 years working on something and it didn't even last for 6 hours. Though obviously it has like stayed with me, but the mind is constantly, I guess, every minute working on a problem to solve. So why not just give the mind a good problem to solve? Let's say, like you always say, Anushthan or malas or, reading Gita or Shloka. Like if you always give the good problem of, let's say, gaining the knowledge, always reading or something, then maybe uh yeah, I mean, if we give a good problem, then the mind can focus on the good problem, because otherwise also it's going to focus on other things. So yeah.
Very nice, Bhavyashri. You're absolutely right. So mind का तो nature है. That's why you have to give it something else to hold on to. So give it Ram to hold on to it. Give it Krishna to hold on to. Very, very good takeaway. Thank you.
I'll go next. I felt today in reading and understanding the shlokas was that as like your ego, if you keep feeding your ego, you are actually moving away from the divine qualities. And I felt that, it kind of realized and makes you think that you have to find a way to like remove the I and remove that, that, okay, I'm this, I'm that, this is me. Anything that good is I did it. And more see it like, it's more the divine part or the divine way that's in it, playing its hand. So moving the ego from yourself would move you closer to the divine qualities.
100%. 100%. Actually, the moment you remove yourself, then the only thing that remains is divine. Absolutely. Thank you, Prem.
Shall I go next? Okay. A lot of takeaways actually, but my main two takeaways are like the better way of communication, how to give the feedback, because whether it is and how to say the truth, whether it is the opinion or it is the fact, or I'm doing from the place of compassion, or it is for welfare of them, or it's for my own thing. I just want to hurt them because what is the intention behind it? And then if I say it, especially with the children and the whoever is weaker than me, so then it is received well. Otherwise, the duty is not done. That is a very big thing actually. We think that I think I am doing my duty, but the kind of intention and words I'm putting behind it, that is what determine whether the duty is done or not. So that one, and then whatever problems or whatever so-called the negative things I'm seeing in others, it is I had to fix in myself so that it won't bother me anymore. So that is my takeaway.
Yeah.
And the one more thing is explained the desire part. It's it's beautifully explained how the how we get that peacefulness after the desire is we feel like the desire of if I do anything, the desire is fulfilled, then the peace comes after that. So yeah, that is very well explained. Thank you.
I think that first part, no, it's like even if we are doing our duty, right? Even if you're doing things correctly, actions correctly, and even if the intention is correct, जैसे कि you have to get the kid to develop a certain work ethic. You have to get them to study. You have to get them to do their homework. And anything that we will do towards them, like you can't say that it's not my duty, or like I will if for the sake of being nice, right? You have to get that done, right? You have a, as an employee or as a manager of a team, you have to deliver on a project, right? Those are all correct duties you have to do. And but what was interesting for me, what was for me a big revelation was that, yeah, I mean, I get all of that done, but then if you do it in a way ki all the people involved are hurt in the process, like then it's like you have undone everything you have done. For me, it was like, whoa, how many things I've undone in my life, because I do this like so often, right? With thinking, yeah. So thank you for sharing. For me also, that was like big sharing for me, and a big takeaway for me also. Reminder again. Yes,
Shall
Sam.
I go next? So the everything, all the work has to be done at the thought level, and which will permeate through words and actions. So that is the overall takeaway, with the practice points like the gates of truthfulness, which we have to, like, we try to be truthful, but the timeliness and the words we use and all those things, and of course communication, the right way of communication to uh, sort of get things done, mostly with kids for me right now, with teenagers. So that should be another thing. And also that uh, real renunciation is the one which is done with happiness and with total willingness, not by cribbing and, when you're mentally not ready for it. So these are my points. Thank
Thanks.
you.
We should always remember that we create our world. Everything in this world is created in the space of words. There's nothing impossible if we choose the right words and put the right energy behind them. So just remember that. World is created in words.
I'll go next.
Yes.
So I think, today's class, it just felt like it was speaking to me on, on multiple levels. So I have a very important feedback session coming up at work tomorrow, I think I mean, probably, I would have approached that entire discussion in a very different manner. But I think what I realized today, that, that focus on, the positive, I mean, like every one of us has, things which are positive in us. I think just to focus on that and then give feedback that has a lot of compassion in it, and give feedback that's honest and truthful, and not hurtful. I think I think one I mean, my session tomorrow, or that whole feedback session that I have tomorrow, I think I'll approach it in a far more matured manner of tomorrow. I mean, thank you. I mean, this class was really needed. I think it's like one of those classes where I think it was just meant for me, when you were explaining things. So thank you.
Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I'll go next. My takeaway is Kavita, what she said, like better way of communicate with the people, you have to see the through the mind control, and then you can better way of when you communicate with people, you can do that with the mind control. Then the next one I started implementing a very long time. It's like when I get angry to some person, I started thinking what they done good, what is the good things from, I started thinking, and then if I pass the mind, and then I don't feel angry, but I couldn't be able to implement with my kids. That is my other than that, everything is fine. Everything I can able to do that, but only the kids immediately I couldn't, I can able to do with others, but I don't know I cannot able to do with my kids. That is the main. Maybe I have to try little more deeper. Then it will be, yeah, definitely it will give, because I can feel the positivity from me when I do with others. But I'm also thinking why it happens, why it's not happened to with my kids. So maybe I have to slow down and then think about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank
So families are our personal prarabdha cleansing machines. So they are there for a very special reason.
you.
And it always is most difficult to change our behavior with our families because we have long histories with them and there's ton of expectations. The most difficult, the reason we find it difficult to implement stuff is because the amount of attachments and expectations we have with our family is way higher than somewhere else. So that's the place to attack. हम लोग सोचते हैं बच्चे हमारे हैं, स्पाउस हमारा है, सो हमारी बहुत एक्सपेक्टेशन हो जाती है उनसे, इंस्टेड ऑफ सेइंग कि they are not, right? Like I think Vijay had also reminded us of that poem from Khalil Gibran about children. um, they are not, they are through us but not of us. Same for spouses. Expectations बहुत strong है हमारे.
And the kids are looking like your spouse? If so, you're missing your spouse and you're scolding the kids probably.
Maybe. Actually, when it happens very often, when he was in the traveling time only, it was happened to us. Maybe.
See, there you go. I get it very frequently. That's the experience.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I can go next. I think very powerful takeaway. Some, like Sanchita said, that it seemed like it was speaking to me. I have been these points were very valid and validation of what I've been thinking. And in fact, I realized that when uh, as Vijay Lakshmi also said, that it's very difficult to implement with your immediate family where you spend all your time with 24 by 7. But it's far easier to implement with, with your friends and the larger family and the colleagues, because, you can step back a little. And I think, with time, I've become a better person there. And by becoming better, it has also become that I've become a quieter person, because you don't want to engage in every discussion that is happening, because you realize most of these discussions are not leading to anything. And it's, when you get together, we have to talk about something which is like of no kind of purpose. So then you become a little quieter also in that whole engagement. But I think the whole crux and key is to do it with your immediate family, where the agitation is also more, the irritation is also more, and where this implementation needs to be kind of implemented there in the most effective way. So yeah, that'll be very interesting to kind of do and observe and then work around it.
So, it will be very interesting कि आपके family में भी ना, there are different types of relationships, right? Some relationships are easier and others are more difficult.
Yeah.
So, जो easier relationships हैं, implement all the, like obviously try and implement it everywhere, but make sure that, your implementation in the easier relationships becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. That
Yeah.
way it's like, you're learning to build your muscles through that 1 kg, 2 kg weight before you get to the 5 kg weight. Right? And then you eventually get to the hardest of the things, right? But वो आपको implement ऐसे ही practice से ही आएगा. And then
हाँ.
you have conquered the most difficult relationship in your life. There's nothing and there's nobody that you will not be able to handle.
True.
Like
And the peace that you get out of all of this, because I think the ultimate objective is peace, and that peace and Satchit Anand. So when you are at that peace with everyone, it is a very good place to be in.
yeah. And वो होता है. It takes time. I remember there was this one course I had done, and I remember, like, because even I took a very long time to even start manifesting even anything about that course with my family, and for like years, my mom, my sister would tell me कि यार तुमने बड़ा कोर्स कर लिया था, तेरे को दिखता तो है नहीं कुछ भी तुम्हारे उसमें. And but my friends and others with whom I don't have that level of baggage, they would tell me, oh, तो we are seeing so much of transformation. तो पहले तो मुझे बड़ा गुस्सा था, ऐसे कैसे बोल दिया मुझे कि मेरे अंदर, कितने लोग मुझे बोलते हैं कि मेरे अंदर इतना ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है. And then one day after I spoke to my mom, I realized कि यार देखो यार, मेरे बिहेवियर मेरी मॉम के साथ तो बिल्कुल डिफरेंट है कंपेयर टू मेरा बिहेवियर विद माय फ्रेंड्स. मैं उनके साथ जैसे बात करती हूँ, जब वो मुझे लाइक, आई कुड सी शी इज एब्सोल्युटली राइट. I have done zero transformation in that relationship. I'm still exactly behaving in the same old fashion because I have no control over my impulses. I get triggered left, right, and center. So, I mean, that's true. And I had exactly the same feedback, and I had to really take that head on. And I'm still like, this is all work in progress. All work in progress. Yes.
Okay, I go the last. So first thing to think of is peel the banana. So if all this divine properties, if we are talking about, take a moment to think through. Say if it is truthfulness, what are we trying to do, right? Like whether it is a fact or opinion, or why we are trying to do what, for what purpose, right? So the intent behind all these actions, any divine qualities that is listed is really important, right? So if we try to touch upon that, the adaptation will be better. So that is one takeaway for me. Second one is constantly feeding the good wolf. So as I think Bhagyashree was pointing, once it is achieved and satisfied, what next is what we are going to go behind. Unless we keep the mind engaged, right, with all the this thing. That's reason for Manan and Nididhyasana and stuff. So keep busy with good stuff. Those are the takeaways. Thank you.
And the good stuff is coming up 15 November. They're going to have the Nam Jap Anushthan till 12th of April. So get prepared and start working towards a good goal. From this class, I don't want anybody, I'm not going to force anybody. I'm not going to ask why or what numbers you're choosing. But my very, very, very strong recommendation would be to take at least 16 malas. Take that and dedicate it to the Lord and just say, I need you to do this for me. That's it. Okay. And then give it your very best and you will see improvement. Maybe you won't get to that 16 mala on day 1. You will get there day 2, day 3, day 4. You will see improvement. Right? Because I'm telling you, it's not impossible. Hundreds of people have done it. Millions of people have done it. I've been there as well. When I would go like 3 malas is enough, 4 is enough. And I'm telling you now, 16 is, you can do way more than 16. Way more. When you remove yourself from that equation. Okay? So all of you must take 16 malas. Must. But of course, I'm not going to go after you if you don't take. But that sadhana will become a bedrock for you to learn about yourself. That, I mean, you will see transformation in yourself. There's no way that you will do 16, 32, 64 malas and not see massive transformation in yourself. You'll be like, मैंने तो कुछ किया नहीं, but how did I behave differently in this situation? I'm not this kind of a person who can handle this like this. You'll surprise yourself with enough sadhana under the belt. Not, of course, on day 1 that you do 16 malas, but this has some real powers of transformation and cleansing. It does work on you. It's real. So, so 15th November, we'll soon come out with the sheet to fill in your pledge. Okay. And thank you everyone for the class. I'll see you in the next one. Have a lovely week ahead. And we have to do the closing shlokas.
Yeah. I'll go then. ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्मयमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ ॐ